Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oliver Petkovs, and I present you with a dilemma. If you were to find a seemingly infinite, limitless power source that could be deployed in any conditions, anywhere on Earth, but theoretically, under great effort, funding, and time consuming process, it could potentially, but not necessarily, be used to develop weapons of mass destruction that, using them, is generally and absolutely actually banned. Would you do it? The answer, of course, may vary. Humanity, however, has chose to do it. And of course, I'm talking here about nuclear power and its immense effects on the world as we know it. This could be understood as a coin, with the flip side, of course, being nuclear bombs, and the better side, nuclear power, as I mentioned before, a breathtaking, civilization changing, incredible power source. So, in this speech, I will try to see the benefits and the negatives of both, and hopefully leave you with a conclusion. Let's start with the benefits, of course. As I mentioned before, nuclear power plants offer great and minimal impact to the climate itself. And when we are at the topic, the two worst nuclear disasters happened on our planet, the Chernobyl 1986 disaster and the Fukushima 2011 one, have had, in all, a tiny effect on the world, especially when we consider it to the actual sources of radiation, the natural, that is in the ground, the galactic radiation, the stellar radiation, solar radiation, and 2,000 nuclear bombs that have been detonated during testing, and the two that have been detonated offensively, which we will be talking about shortly. As such, it is important to note that those two disasters have caused at worst 15,000 deaths, which still puts nuclear power at the safest, that is, death to a unit of energy provided, at minimum. This is actually better than solar power, than wind power, and the coal. The coal is a terrible source of energy. I think we can all agree on that. And when we are on the topic, nuclear power can be used practically in any branch of existing industry, both in electrifying it and producing power for it, but actually developing new technologies. For example, look at merchant ships. There have been 4 nuclear-powered merchant ships built. That is Savannah, Mutsu, Otohan, and Sevmorput. To this day, only Sevmorput is swimming. The reason, of course, being the forever loved between conspiracy theorists and, well, let's call them ignorance, but Chernobyl argument. Honestly, quite sad, as I mentioned before, considering the deaths and its minimal impact. Aside, of course, maybe from the political one, because people of the Soviet Union lost faith in the Soviet Union. They have covered a massive accident that had, or rather could have had, an impact if it hadn't been properly taken care of, eventually, which, as it should be said, didn't take place immediately. It only started because the effects were visible outside of the Soviet borders. Let's, however, not digress that far out. The flip side, as I mentioned before, are nuclear bombs. And when we are at the topic, it should be noted that they can and have been used peacefully over 150 times with Operation Plowshare and nuclear explosions for the national economy from the Soviet side. Both scientific reasons, seismologic reasons, actually finding ores and then compressing those ores into being faster and better, mining operations, and of course building canals. This is a way of, argumenting for nuclear bombs. I, however, do not think and do not see it as a valuable, as a reason that is and allows for them to be developed. No, they should immediately be banned, and they have been banned for tens of years. This, of course, comes from the treaties. And those treaties, in a sense, have stopped a global conflict from ever emerging. It really was a war to end all major wars. Of course, they do still happen, but as I mentioned before, nuclear weapons have not been used offensively, as of course it would lead to a nuclear holocaust, a genocide on a global scale, which is a terrifying thought. Every single second of my life, and your life too, has been in a constant threat of one superpower attacking another and harming the world irreversibly. It has already been irreversibly impacted. This is why we propose Anthropocene, as a geological epoch because the amount of radionuclides in the ground has increased significantly from 2,000 nuclear detonations. Should we, however, continue with nuclear power considering its immense effects? The answer, in my opinion, is clear. Yes. It is something incredible. We have split the atom, the building bricks of the universe, and used it, seized that power for ourselves. And why should we stop here? We, in these times, in these trying times, when climate change is a significant factor, we have a branch of industry that can be electrified and minimize those emissions drastically and immediately. And we have had that technology for decades, but we haven't used it because of the public opinions. And this is why, in my view, this is the worst argument, of course, of them all, in my view. The fact that the public may be misinformed, maybe just not thinking about it that critically, maybe just being brought up in such an area, wouldn't want nuclear weapons. Nuclear power, that is. And for that, I propose a solution: education. If we were, for example, to convince everyone that nuclear power is good, then of course they would think of it as good. That is not what I propose. I propose to see the immediate effects of it and how it has impacted and changed the world. We can compare France to Germany, other countries to even different countries. But most of all, we have developed new technologies that can't allow for accidents such as the one in Fukushima and Chernobyl to happen again. But of course, there's Three Mile Island and other minor incidents that have happened worldwide. Those two have been mostly, if not fully, solved by now. So, all in all, do you really need more convincing to see that nuclear power is something we should be investing in? Thank you.